Alright, we're going to take you through a little bit with Geometer Sketchpad. First time for many of you using it. So we're going to go up here, double click, open it up. And what we'll have is we've got a few buttons across the top. File, you'll need that if you're saving or opening a new sketch. Edit, we'll use that occasionally, mostly to undo or copy. And occasionally we'll animate things. Under the display, you have things that you can change: line width, color, text. You can hide objects, which is a really good feature you'll need to know. You can show everything that's hidden, which you want to use sparingly, because occasionally you'll hide some things. You don't want to show everything that's hidden, as you might have hidden a lot of things prior to that. Show labels. You can actually label things here. Trace things. You can erase traces. Animate. Under construct, some of the things that will show up, these will show up at different times. It does depend in this program on what you have selected. So here's a bunch of the options. Transform. This will be when we're doing transformational geometry. In this book, I believe it falls under chapter 16. So what you'll have to do to transform things is you'll have to insert certain values, like a center point, a mirrored line, an angle, a ratio, a vector, which is a magnitude and a direction, or perhaps even a distance. And then you could translate, rotate, dilate, or reflect. And under the measure menu, you can measure the length, the distance, the perimeter, circumference, the angle, all these different features. And occasionally we'll want to be on the graph menu. That's going to be a little bit rare for this class, but that's kind of the idea. So let's take a look at what we have over here. First off, on the left-hand side, we have our tool bar. And these are the tools that are available to us right now. The first tool that's available is the selection arrow tool. This is what you'll use most often. Underneath it is the point tool. You'll use it to create points. Shocker. Next is the compass tool. We'll be using that to create circles or arcs, or in this case to measure distances when we don't have a ruler. Next we have a straight edge tool. And like the top one, it has this little tiny arrow next to it. So notice this little tiny arrow. What that indicates is if you press and hold on that button, it brings up a little pop-up menu. And that allows you to choose from a line segment, a ray, or a line. A line is infinite in both directions, a ray is infinite in one direction, and a segment is a finite piece of a line. Underneath that, we have the text tool, and underneath that is the custom tool, which we will be able to use this term. So let's go ahead and build a little something then. Off we go. So I'm going to go ahead and create a couple of points. There's a couple points. I could build as many as I want using the point tool. What's interesting to note is when you create a point, it has certain attributes. So for example, this point is strictly a point. I can move it wherever I want by using the selection tool. If I still had the point tool selected and tried to drag it, it would just create new points, which can be very frustrating. Which is where the undo button comes in handy. Some of you may know Control Z. If you're using a Mac, these commands will be slightly different. So I'm going to press Control Z a bunch of times and get back to just what I started with. Now let's go ahead and build a circle. Now you notice the first button I clicked on is highlighted in blue, and I can drag it to any point I want, like out here, or I can start again and create a point that moves to exactly this one. Now notice the difference here. This one is highlighted with a light blue in my case, and when it is that value, I know it's actually connected to that point. Now the reason that's nice is then if I want to change this, this circle is connected to that point. So if I was to delete the point, then the entire circle that I made would disappear. I'm going to press the delete button now, and you can see the circle completely disappears. This point though, out here, this point that appears to go through the line, since it's not actually the controlling aspect of the point or the line itself, the curve, I could delete this point and nothing would change. So you can continue building things. But if you ever want to highlight something or like move a point, you have to be in the selection arrow. If you try to click on this point and move it, all that's going to happen is you're going to continue building more circles. So let's go back to our selection tool. And this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and drag and highlight a whole bunch of things. The reason I'm doing that is I'd like to show you how to hide objects. What we're going to do here is press Control H or the Hide Objects button, and everything that I had highlighted will be hidden. I can repeat this process as often as I like. Before too long, I'm back to those 3 points that I started with. But those objects which were visible before, I could show all hidden and return to exactly what I had before. Boom! There's everything. Yeah, let's undo that. Gets a little messy. I'm now going to choose the line segment tool, the straight edge tool, and I can build a segment, or if I click and hold, I could select a ray. Now what's nice is, if you notice here, I can click on a point that's on that ray and make a new ray. The new point that I just built is confined to the ray that I chose. I can try to move it anywhere else, but it won't go. So this point has certain attributes. One of those attributes is it was built on this ray. So no matter what I do to that point, I cannot change the fact that I built that point on the ray. And as I move it, it's going to have to stay on the ray. The difference is if I create another ray that goes through this point, where the starting value that I chose here is not on the line, I could then move this point anywhere I want. The second point for the ray I chose to be this point, which means that point could not move. Notice the difference. Here I can move this point freely. In the first case, I cannot move it freely. It's fixed based on the ray. So this is something that can be a little aggravating to students as they get used to Geometer Sketchpad. The idea that each object has a way that it was built, and you were actually in charge of that. So if there's a mistake that's being made, you may have to undo this so that you don't select a point that's on a ray or a line, and instead select just a generic point. One of the other tools here is the text tool. If I click on certain points, it will label them for me, which is extremely handy. Sometimes you may not like where it puts the letter, so you could just drag this around. Makes it a little bit easier to read. Also, you could click on segments and it will label those as well. And what I've just done here is created a text box. Now I can create labels, move them wherever I like, but the labels that I chose originally are fixed to the objects themselves. So this letter J is referencing this line segment. So if I want to move J all the way out to the side, I can't. If you don't like a label being in place, you can double click it and say, I don't want to show the label. And it will remove it. The reason you might want to do something like this is it's easier to describe points based on letters than it is the third point up the line. And the reason is should that point move, the third point up the line might now be a different one than it was originally. So we want to keep that in mind. I'm going to go ahead and create a new sketch. Now a new sketch starts completely new. If I went back to the Untitled version 1, I could hide everything or delete everything that I see here, but it may not bring it back to a completely new sketch. So every once in a while it's good to start over. With my point tool, I'm going to click on some points. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell the computer that I would like to click on these points in order and then construct segments. Now as I move these, remember these points were completely random. So as I choose to move certain pieces, they pull along for the ride the pieces that formed them. So here I've got a really, really crazy looking hexagon. If I wanted to build these with rays so that I'd have exterior angles to measure, once again, I could click on the points in order, and this time say construct rays. Now, in order for me to measure an angle using this program, I actually have to have another point. So what I'm going to do is on each of these rays, I could construct a point on the ray. And there it is. And then I could click these three and measure an angle. Take a look, there's angle ABC. And it measured it for me. So that as I move these points around, that angle changes as well. Automatically calculated. Now notice as I move point C up and down, that does not change the angle until it moves to the other side. Then angle ABC is a different angle than angle ABC is over here. Now since we may want to create a lot of different points, so if we wanted to measure all these angles at once, with my original points, construct rays, and now that they're all highlighted, I could construct points on the rays. And there they are. Some of them are hard to see, so I'm going to pull them back so it's a little bit closer. And all I'm going to do is move each one out a little bit, and I could measure all of these angles. There's ABC. There's DCE. Oh, nice. And so forth. As I'm trying to click on these next 3 points, I accidentally click on the segment. When I go to measure, it will not let me choose angle. I can only choose angle if I have 3 points. So I would need to deselect the line before the angle came up. Again, I could repeat this throughout the entire shape. All right. There's a bunch of angles. But you might not feel that this is the best way to label these pieces. So maybe you feel that it'd be better if you labeled the interior polygon in order, A, B, C, D, E, F, and then labeled the other points around the outside with the next letters. If you select them in order, you'll be able to do just that. So now I'm going to label the points, and I'm going to start with A, and it will automatically label all of these, and it will change the values here to reflect their actual pieces. So again, you're in charge. Make sure that it shows exactly what you want in the end. And that's kind of an introduction to Geometer Sketchpad. If you have any questions or problems, you know where to go. Again, if you're downloading this for purchase, and there's a full version, which is about $30. You can get a lifetime subscription. And if you buy just the 1 year, it's about $10 or $15. It's relatively inexpensive then, but it's something you should try out. You're not going to break the program by pushing buttons. So give it a shot. Off you go.